also think it's really important to understand that there are so many benefits when it comes to stopping or pivoting. It's not a failure. And I think that that's something that you have to get really comfortable with if you are going to go into business or you are going to work for yourself or you are going to kind of invest into something. You have to understand that it's not a failure if something goes wrong. You're learning that, okay, that's not the right direction. Let's pivot. Today's video is going to be all about knowing when to stop or pivot in business. Business is such a dynamic environment. You need to be able to quickly adapt and to process change relatively quickly as a business owner. And I think just talking through like the consequences, the signs, just how to pivot is really important because it's something that you absolutely need to kind of learn to master and just be okay with as a business owner. And I want you as a business owner, as somebody who's interested in business and finance and just having a sustainable business, to know this in the beginning, because I think if you're experiencing a lot of change already and business absolutely brings that out, you may think like, oh my goodness, this isn't for me, when really you don't need to stop and give up on your business idea. You just need to pivot. So that's what I want to discuss today and make sure that you have like the actionable, tangible, just signs and tools and things you need for you and your business. If you're new here, my name is Olivia. I am the founder here at Lavi Rèv. We're a consultancy that specializes in strategic planning, giving Black and brown women the tools they need to build their dreams. So first and foremost, recognize the warning signs. I know for me, it's just like listening to your gut, trusting your intuition, praying, your faith, like just knowing if something is off, whether that's in business or life. You kind of just really need to learn to trust your gut. This is where like understanding just financial analysis and understanding the numbers will come in key. So for example, and I know I've been for the past few weeks really going on about understanding the basics of business, the terms. So maybe you're noticing an issue with your cash flow and you're looking at your income statement and you're like, actually, this doesn't make sense. For the past few months, I haven't been making enough income to cover the expenses of the business. That might be a sign that, okay, we need to pivot, we need to change something, or we need to figure out how we can reduce cost. It doesn't mean that you don't have a great idea and maybe your execution is off. Maybe you need to figure out a different way to advertise, or maybe you need to kind of cut back on spending for a little bit. Understanding what those warning signs are early and in the beginning gives you a quicker chance at resolving them. It's really, really important to actively monitor and evaluate your business performance, especially in the beginning if you're a startup, because resources can be limited. You can have limited funds, you could have investor money that you're trying to spend wisely. You want to make sure that any sign, like the slightest sign that anything is off, you're on top of it. So that goes back to building your financial IQ and analysis, understanding your top 3 financial statements, and then also just trusting your gut and making sure you're kind of keeping up with the day-to-day of your business. So what is like the cost of inaction, or like what is that? What can happen to you if you just like notice that there's a problem in your business and don't take any action, or you don't stop? Potential outcomes include financial loss of competitiveness, and just missed opportunities. A lack of timely action completely can ruin your business in the early stages if you're in the startup or just small business phase, and you want to make sure to avoid that. But I also think it's really important to understand that there are so many benefits when it comes to stopping or pivoting. It's not a failure, and I think that that's something that you have to get really comfortable with if you are going to go into business or you are going to work for yourself or you are going to kind of invest into something. You have to understand that it's not a failure if something goes wrong. You're learning that, okay, that's not the right direction. Let's pivot. And this kind of goes back, and I know I've said this in multiple videos before, where it's like you want to get stuck on the end goal, not the path to get there. So there are so many different ways to be a successful entrepreneur, to have a successful business. And if you get so caught up and stuck on just like, okay, it has to happen just this way, if that way starts to not work, you're not going to know what to do. You're not going to know how to adapt. You're not going to know how to pivot, to change. And understanding that there are multiple different ways to do things is really, really key. Get stuck on the end goal, the outcome, the successful business, the change that you want to see in your community, the people's lives that you want to impact. That's the end goal, right? How you get there, there's so many different ways of that. Like, there are so many different ways to do that. So if you notice something is off in your business, stopping or pivoting is such a huge moment, because this is a time where you can increase your competitiveness. You can stop and analyze, okay, what's going on in the market right now? Maybe there's a new market opportunity that I'm not seeing. Okay, everybody is switching to video. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to also try to figure out how to integrate video into my marketing strategy. And a term that I always hear a lot in business is like, you want to fail fast. You want to fail fast, you want to fail forward. Like if you're going to make a mistake or you need to learn something, you'd rather do it quickly in the beginning and as fast as possible so you can move on to the next thing and be successful in that. I think there's this just negative connotation around, oh, I stopped or I failed or it didn't work out this way, when it's like, no, you learned so much. You learned a lot from that experience. You learned that, okay, maybe that wasn't the right way to go about doing the business, and maybe I would be better doing something else or going in a different direction with my business. And you would rather have that realization sooner, before you invest tens of thousands of dollars into a business and realize, I don't know, years or months down the line, oh, this wasn't the right opportunity for me, or this wasn't the direction that I actually wanted to go. I'm not actually fulfilled by this. So I think it's actually just a reframing of the perspective around failure and change and resiliency, because that's ultimately what it is. Learning to be okay with change and pivoting is just learning to be resilient and knowing that regardless of what happens with this business, this particular business outcome, that's not the end for you. It's not, the end all be all. That doesn't determine your success. Yeah, maybe that one way wasn't the right way for you to do business, but if you analyze the situation and learn from it, you can take that and turn it into something absolutely incredible. There are so many examples of that in the business world today, but I think in particular in today's day and age, there's so much change happening at a social level, political level. There's so much happening in the world that the way that we do business is absolutely changing in the world today. And being able to adapt and notice those changes and incorporate any feedback as quickly as possible is only going to help you to be sustainable long term. As the world continues to just be in turmoil and chaos, you need to know how to adapt and do business in any different multiple types of ways. That's actually one of the that's probably one of the biggest things that I got out of my experience of living all over the world. So how you do business in Paris is so different from how you do business in China and Hong Kong and Asia in general, just because the cultures are so different. The way you relate to people is different. And they're all obviously so different to North America or the Caribbean. And again, at the end of the day, people are people. It's really incredible to be able to connect with people all over the world and understanding that, okay, there are so many different ways to approach business and life, and you could absolutely use all of those to your advantage in whatever business you decide to do. So I think that really is the key of this video, is just understanding that knowing when to stop, knowing when to pivot, knowing when to change is only going to make you more competitive. It's only going to make you more sustainable and a better business. Just be more business savvy in general in the long term. It should absolutely not be seen as like, oh, it's a negative, I failed. And I think last but not least is just learning from failure. There are absolutely so many times in life where you fail or things just don't work out and things aren't fair. That truly is life. But I think learning how to take any situation that may come up in your life or business and turn it into something where you learn from it, you're able to flip it so that it's an experience that you're able to capitalize on. That's the key. Being able to fail and be a beginner and still be okay with that and to still work through that and not see it as the end of the road for you is so, so important as a business owner, to be able to be resilient and adaptable when it comes to navigating challenges. And I can confidently say this as somebody who has worked in banking for the last 10 years and also now as like a business owner. There's going to be challenges. There's always going to be challenges. That's life. Things are always going to come up. There's going to be setbacks. Things won't go as planned. But being able to work past those, being able to say, okay, maybe this way doesn't work. I'm going to go this way. Okay, that way didn't work. I'm going to go back this way. So knowing how to do that gracefully, knowing how to do that and not like beat yourself up, that is so, so key. And it truly is a skill that I think every business owner should have, regardless of what industry you're in. Just that resilience, that self-confidence, that, okay, I know that like, even if this one way fails, I have 10 other ways like that I could also move to. I think it's a really important reminder today, because I think a lot of people are afraid of being seen as beginners or failing or starting out. And that's the only way you're going to learn and grow. It truly is the only way to learn and grow. An example that I use a lot in my own life is moving to Paris. I didn't know anyone there. I didn't speak the language. I had taken French classes at Alliance Française, but I didn't actually speak the language, and I was going to Paris to be a director at a small company where everyone spoke French. Some people spoke English as well. And at the end of the day, when I got there and I couldn't speak French, I felt like such a failure. But looking back now, like, that was such an incredible time in my life, and I'm so happy that I did have the resilience and the fortitude and just like the vision to be like, no, you know what, this is hard now, and yeah, maybe my French isn't perfect. I'm going to push through and pivot and figure out how I can still have the career and the life that I want. And that was like 7-8 years ago now. Yeah, I speak French, and I've had this whole other life and career beyond that. That wasn't the end of the world just because I couldn't speak French at the time when I really, really wanted to speak French. So I hope that was helpful in just helping you to recognize and see that there's so much value in being able to recognize when it's time to change or stop and pivot in business. It really is all about just being proactive, open-minded, and willing to make strategic decisions in order to have long-term success in business. That is the key. Maybe it's a hard decision now to stop doing one line of business, something that you've always wanted to do, but in the grand scheme of things, you may come back to that later once you have more experience or more funds or just a different perspective. But keeping that open mind is absolutely key. And just reframing your perspective on what it means to stop or to fail. It's not a failure. It's a learning opportunity. It's a stepping stone. It's still going to take you to where you need to go, just in a different route. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I hope it's useful for you as you kind of navigate being a business owner, building something new. I know it's challenging. I don't say any of this lightly. I'm saying it as somebody who absolutely has gone through it, continues to go through it. You're doing great, and that's all part of the process. If you want to learn more about Lavi Rèv, working with me, setting up a consultation, all of that, I will leave links in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.